Let me ask you something. Are you getting everything out of your rent-to-own business? If you're not an APRO member, then the answer is probably no. Look, advocacy is APRO's bread and butter. This is why they were created and what they do best. But here's the thing. APRO membership is about way more than advocacy. APRO connects you to the movers and the shakers of the industry, people who've been there, done that, and they can help you do it even better. APRO's monthly webinars give you expert insights and actionable takeaways. It's like having a masterclass for your business every single month. Got questions about complex regulations or sticky situations? No problem. APRO's legal hotline gives you direct access to experts who have got the answers. That's a peace of mind that you can't put a price on. And let's not forget the resources, news, updates, and tools that keep you ahead of the curve. Scholarships for your team? Check. Disaster relief when you need it most? Double check. APRO is your ultimate support system in the rent-to-own world. So stop settling for less. With APRO, members get more. More support, more connections, and more success. Head over to rtohq.org and join the APRO family today. Because in this business, more isn't just better. It's essential. See you at the top with APRO. Hey everybody, welcome to the RTO Show. I'm your host, Pete Shau, and today, special guest legend, we have Wayland Russell, who has been, we're going to have a story for you. It's going to manifest from little starts to a really big ending. And as you know, APRO is, right now we're working with APRO to get this legend series in here so that we can get the information to you so that you understand exactly what's going on and exactly how we can start this experience from the beginning. And Wayland, you have a story to tell, an excellent story to tell. Right now, as of right now, though, you are a co-owner of Eagle Rentals.
That's correct.
So I see Joe all the time.
Yeah.
But a guy. He's a big guy.
He's a big guy. You
right?
know, I started out 5'6", but I was in martial arts. I had to have 2 vertebrae removed from my neck.
Oh, no.
Last year, I had 3 vertebrae fused in my back, so I'm down to 5. I went the wrong direction. I started short. Now I'm 5'4". My partners are Randy Lewis, 6'4", Joe Fisher, 6'3",
That's
and
right.
Richard Morrow, who's 6'2", and I'm 5'4".
Well,
we look really ridiculous together.
I tell you what my wife's always told me and trying to make me feel better, big things come in little packages,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
I think that God has always blessed me to be a man of stature regardless of how tall I am.
Exactly right.
So, and we look forward to that.
God don't make no junk.
That's it. That's it. So you were a co-founder of Rainbow Rentals. Now, Rainbow Rentals, in case anybody doesn't know, ended up with 100+ stores that ended up changing names and some different acquisitions. But I mean, Rainbow Rentals in what was in the mid to late 90s was the place to go.
When we went public in June of 98, Rent-A-Center's average store was bringing in $600,000 per year. Aaron's was bringing in $660,000 per year, and Rainbow Rentals was doing $1.3 million per
Wow.
store.
Wow. I mean, we're talking double numbers.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So in Rainbow Rentals' existence, there was 124 stores actually, right?
We ended up with that. We were not an acquisition story. We were a greenfield story, but we had several acquisitions. We bought Zoom, we bought Wayne Chambers stores down to own and some others. So, but many of them were not the sizes of our stores and they were very fragmented. So we would consolidate those. So by the time that we sold to Rent-A-Center in 2004, we were 124 stores, right at $1 million per store with that, because we had several new stores. Stuff like that. So
when did Rainbow Rentals get started?
Well, what happened was I was at that time I was with Crown Leasing for about 3 years. I started in the industry on February 1st, 1977 with Chuck Sims and Remco, and really before that, the rent-owned industry stores looked a lot like pawn shops, and Sims was trying to really bring that forward, and I caught that passion then, and so when my first child was going to be born, we were from Canfield, Ohio, so we wanted to move back to family when my first child was born. So Ralph Devlin, the brother of Tom Devlin and the owner of Rent-A-Center at the time, offered me a position as vice president of operations for Rent-A-Center in the state of Ohio. So I moved up there back home and worked with him for 2 years. And then I opened up Consumer Rentals in Cleveland, my first store that I own of my own. Very, very successful. One of the gentlemen, well, several of the gentlemen that had worked with me at Rent-A-Center had left and went with Crown Leasing. So Jason Alford, who was a dear friend of mine, a fellow Christian and brother in the Lord, he came to me, he said, let us buy Consumer Rentals, and we want you to come and be in charge of M&A at Crown Leasing and so forth like that, and manpower. They made me an offer, and I took the offer. And that was with Bob White. Well, about 3 years later, him and Bob White fell out of relationship. And because I was so closely tied to Jason, I got fired with him. So I told him, I said, let's start this company. And I said, or he said to me, I don't have any money. I said, I got the money. We'll get started. So we brought in Jason, Larry Hendricks, Mike Viveris, and we put in all the money, took all the risk, and I gave 57.5% of the company away the very first day we opened up to people that I knew that would take to get to where we needed to. Men of integrity, men of passion, men with great experience and strong disciplines.
That's important.
And so Jason agreed to that. And his father was the pastor of our church in Ohio. So we started for 2 weeks. At 5 a.m. in the morning, we'd lay down on our faces before the Lord and say, we don't want this company. We want to work for you. We want this company to be your company. So 1986, we opened up the first store. We opened up 6 stores in the same month. That's how we opened up Rainbow Rentals.
Wow.
6 stores in the same month.
Wow.
And
that's a feat.
The very first store we opened up was in Boardman, Ohio. And we had a young man by the name of Randy Lewis, which delivered the first of 2 million customers of Rainbow Rentals history.
Oh, wow. Wow.
He was on one end of the TV and Dan Hess was on the other. So we started and we were founded on Judeo-Christian values. We didn't try to legislate morality. We loved everybody. Your personal life is none of our business. We're going to love you. We're going to treat you with respect and dignity, and we're going to reward your accomplishments. And that's what we did. So
you started fast. You started really fast.
Well, yeah, because, we've been in the industry for a while. And from the very first day, we were going to be a publicly traded company. That was decided before we opened the first store. We would be a publicly traded company because that was the only way that we would be able to share the company with our fellow associates that would build the company.
Right. Right.
Right. And we were blessed with the best of the best. Our turnover rate was like 11%, unheard of in the industry.
Yes,
unheard of.
Yes, right now. I think right now we're going through a lot of turnover rate in the last couple of years. It's just skyrocketed.
Well, even our society, we're not trained any longer that you start with a company and you die with that company. That's not the mindset.
Right.
Because everybody was so important at Rainbow Rentals, there was no king and queens. The reason that Rainbow Rentals became the great company that it was not because of this short Lebanese Scotchman. It was because of 1,200 people that loved their company and loved their customers.
Culture is absolutely super important to keeping a great business great.
You do not build a company, you build a culture.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you start there. You know that you want to create. You find some people to create with you, and you know that you're going to take it public. What were, going to this part in your life, what were some of the mentors or some of the people that you knew that you were able to model or talk to or rely on to help you make these decisions and get to where you were?
let's take a quick break.
Hey everyone, it's Pete Shau here from the RTO Show podcast, and I want to tell you about a company that's making a real difference in the rent-to-own space, Wow Brands. I've seen firsthand how they approach marketing, and let me tell you, it's not just about ads. Wow Brands builds complete digital ecosystems designed specifically for the rent-to-own industry. Their e-commerce and lead generation strategies are built to bring in qualified leads. And did I mention that they are actively working with the rent-to-own industry while also being members of APRO and TRIB? Listen, these folks are passionate problem solvers. They don't just slap something together. They design, build, and scale the kind of digital retail tools your business needs and your customers actually want. So if you're serious about growing, reach out to Wow Brands at wowbrands.com. I trust them, and I think you will too.
Well, first of all, I surrounded myself with people that I thought had the experience, the expertise, and the quality of character. So I surrounded myself with those people. And then the Lord brought us people. I like to tell you that I'm such a great interviewer that I can pick out the best. No, the people that came to us were exceptional. And there was one thing I wanted to see in the people, particularly if I had to go outside and hire from out of the company. Show me your passion. Show me your passion. People have resumes and they have work history. Show me your passion.
It's so important.
Yeah. So we were able to fill our company with passionate people, and we treated them as partners. We never used the word employee, not ever. If I want to hire a shepherd, I want someone that loves the flock, not somebody that's a hired hand. And as soon as the wolf comes, the trouble comes, they book. I wanted people that had a dog in the fight. That's why I gave away 57.5% of all of that I owned, really, to these people, because they needed to love this company with a passion. And that's what was required. And they did. And each person had their skills as we went into the project.
Is there any particular people that stood out to you that you can say in the beginning, these were really the guys that, and it sounds like you had a lot of great people on that team.
Yeah. I knew everybody in the industry. I knew Tom Devlin personally and what drove him. I knew Chuck Sims. I knew Mr. Talley. Very, very well. And I can't say that I bought into everybody's ideas, but I cherry picked, and I was able to see where the quality was. And we saw our mission differently than many people that go into business. We saw our mission to be the advantage to the disadvantaged. That's why when we started the industry, started in Rainbow Rentals, all that was out there was Dixieland furniture. That's what, and we were buying melamine bedrooms, inexpensive Ashley bedrooms from the stock people that would buy the stuff. We paid 30% more for them through these brokers, and so we decided our customers need to have the same kind of furniture we want in our home. So me, Larry Hendricks, who had a polio leg, and Mike Vivera started walking the High Point Furniture Show every October, when nobody in the industry was there. And the only way you could buy furniture was you bought it at the High Point Show for 6 months. And every month it was delivered to one location. I said, no. We have 60 locations. You have to deliver to every location every week. I need a dozen living room sets and 60 different locations every week. And for 2 years, for every show, walking, we got no, until we went to England Corsair. And Rod England says, we can do that. We changed the world.
How important was that meeting with Rod England that you got this one yes now? How pivotal was that to creating a different growth set in what you did.
Well, just think of England Corsair. First of all, they picked up 60 stores that was, buying a dozen sets of furniture every single week.
Yeah.
All right. So that was a big jump for them. But what do you think happened at Rent-A-Center when they found out that we had the quality furniture we had in our stores? England Corsair got a call. So they did. And next thing you know, Lazy Boy was buying England Corsair, and it launched them. From those ideas, from that just-in-time delivery and so forth, Ashley adopted that model, and that's why they're the biggest furniture store by every metric today, because we changed the way furniture was bought, marketed, and shipped.
So when you go into England Corsair and you say that you want all these sets, and I mean, they're seeing the potential in this. They're seeing how we can really make a difference. How come is it that the other companies didn't see that value? Because if you were coming to me and I'm selling furniture and you're telling me you got 60 stores and you want a dozen sets shipped all the time, I'm going to shake your hand and we're going to do business. What prevented other people from doing that? And what do you think it was that England said, hey, I see the potential in this and I'm going with this, versus others who at the time really didn't see that value?
Well, working through distributors, again, there's a 35% markup, and you can only get what they're going to offer you.
Correct.
We wanted more, better, different for our customers. We wanted more, better, different for our associates. We wanted more, better, different for our investors later on. And we worked hard to answer the question, how can we be more, better, different? So the reason nobody else did it is that no one would do it. It took 2 years of just talking and preaching to these manufacturers that we want to deliver to our customers your products. We don't want Dixieland furniture. We want your products. I want a product that I would be proud to have in my home.
That's right.
Because that's what my customers deserve.
Right.
So we fought for it and we fought for it. And we found one knucklehead that said I could do that. So Ron England and I and a guy by the name of Jim Carbo, who called every one of our stores every week to get the order and then turn it into the company.
It's funny you say that, because we just talked about Ashley and how great they are. I have guys that I've known for years, and no matter where I've worked in this industry, they will call every single week. Hey, Pete, how you doing? What are you guys looking for? This is what I have going on. This is what I have coming up. This is what's coming out of the next quarter. This is what might be, this is a drop in price. You guys want to jump on that? I mean, it's just amazing when you have somebody who's willing to work with you and really willing to make a difference. Yeah. Those partnerships can make some amazing differences.
He knew every manager, loved them dearly. They loved him. He had to hire help. He had to get an office, hired help to be able to do that. We did millions of dollars with them. I mean, Rainbow Rentals average year, we bought $70 million worth of merchandise. Wow. Average year.
That is amazing.
We've been up to $94 million in 1 year of buying merchandise.
And just purchases.
Wow. Wholesale priced furniture.
So we're talking about furniture. So we're talking about the early days. You know what you wanted to do.
Yes.
You got with some of your partners. You knew you were going to be public. 57.5% out the gate. You get 6 stores in the first couple of months. And we talk to England and they say, this is the deal. This is what we're going to do. When did because that is a huge deal at that point in time.
Huge. When
did Rainbow Rentals start stepping into technology? The early TVs, the early washer and dryers, the early laptops.
Yeah. Well, when we would go to, I remember the first time, or maybe not the first time, but close to the first time I met Norm Smith from different TVs that he was selling and so forth. And, you're rent to own. So they would take me to the Milba Toast console TV or portable. And I says, listen, if you want to do business with Rainbow, you take me to the middle of your line and go up from there. We don't want anything below middle. Our customers deserve the best. So we worked hard to give our customers the absolute best product. and we collected better than anyone else. Our average car close was less than 4%. Our bad debt was less than 1.5%.
Wow.
And we collected better than anyone else because we did not have bill collectors. We had account managers that were supposed to get the account, work with the customer, and get them to win. Okay. So we were so efficient that we could offer the better products for less than Rent-A-Center was selling the Melba Toast product.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. All of those savings went back to the customers. Our job was to provide in the future our investors with a good return on their money. It wasn't to try to stack money up and see how much we can make. It was we have a responsibility to make a living for all of our associates, and we have a responsibility to make a good return for our investors.
So which products came first? So you started, did the television systems come first and then?
Well, yeah, we were the first to do rear projection TVs in the world, the very first rent-owned company to do that. We were paying $3,000 wholesale for a rear projection TV in those days.
Yeah.
And what we did is we marked it up 2 times. And we only initially rented it to existing customers as another unit. And then we just kept ratcheting the product up. Then I felt as though we needed to get our low to medium income customers into the computer age because I knew it was coming. So what I did is I went to Eugene Calabria, the CEO of Global Business Systems. Most of the medical places you go to are running GBS software, Global Business Systems software. And they were on the front page with Dell Computer. So I told Eugene, I need to find something because at that time, when you bought a computer, you got a blinking asterisk in the top left-hand corner. Mm-hmm. And all you could do is play solitaire unless you typed in Cobalt language or it wouldn't do anything.
Correct.
Well, then my customers, that wasn't going to work.
Right.
And I was concerned my customers more than anybody else needed their children to stay on par with anybody in the world so they can rise above where they're at possibly and have a better future. So I went to him. I says, we gotta find a way to do that. He says, well, let me make a phone call. He calls Dell Computer. So now on 224 in Canfield, Ohio, in my conference room, I got my IT guy, Matt Pecchia, who was brilliant. Matter of fact, we wrote a software system that would trump any software system that's here today. I mean, I could tell you in an instant exactly how many orders was placed today, how much money, so forth. Our guys use icons to click on and order their merchandise, and it was all EMI. That Whirlpool didn't even know the order came in. We didn't know the order went out. It just went. It showed up on the dock. They shipped the stuff. When they accept it, if it matches, the computers paid each other, and that was it. Wow. Seamless transactions. Wow. Okay, with that software. But now I'm in the conference room with Matt Pecchia, the director of IT for GBS, and Dell Computer. Wow. in just this little puny company on 224. Wow. So Dell Computer went to work and they created 4 Rainbow Rentals. And by the way, nobody had bundled software. When you bought the computer, you got a blinking asterisk. We set up strategic alliances with Net Zero, Quicken, all of that. We were the first company in the world. Well, let me qualify that. Obviously, whatever Dell did for us, they proliferated to the whole world at that same moment.
Absolutely.
But they did it for us. Okay. So like at the exact same moment that we were doing bundled software, all of a sudden it was being marketed to everybody, which is good. I mean, they did the work. They deserved to do that. But we came up with this icon system for our customers to use. So now our customers were surfing the internet before mainstream America was. Wow. And at that time, a direct quote, Mark Spiess of Rent-A-Center, I love the man, he's a good man. He was telling the people on the conference call and so forth that computers made good boat anchors Bill Morgenstern from Rentway said that computers in the rent-to-own industry were good doorstops. Imagine how embarrassed they were when we went public in June of '98 and we were doing $250,000 per store in rental computers.
And if I remember the article that I read, which actually came out in APRO, very close to that year, was that I think it was 2005 or something. I can't remember the article time, but they were kind of going back over on how not only did you were a pioneer on that, but it didn't just take off. It was one of the higher selling items that one of the lines that you had.
Oh yeah. It immediately became 10, 12, 15% of our income.
Right.
So, I mean, it was absolutely huge. It just leapfrogged. Again, the motivation for doing that was not to make a big pile of money. We hoped that it would, and we were going to try to market it right and price it right, but we wanted to be the advantage to the disadvantaged. And as I say that, we looked on how we could make their lives more, better, different on a constant basis. So we saw the vacuum in furniture with the stuff that was there. We saw the vacuum in the low TV sets, the lowest refrigerator, the lowest washer dryer. We saw that vacuum, and we wanted to fill that hole. And now the industry has to recognize that AI is going to create advantages for mainstream America.
Yes.
That will leave the disadvantaged behind. This industry has the responsibility to make sure that we deliver those same advantages to our low to medium income customers that are making our livings for us every day. They're our first concern. Now, as an owner, for me, I wasn't the most impressive CEO you ever met. Most people would say you can't even make the height requirement. But what I saw for me is I was the band conductor. I could not play the instruments anywhere near as well as every one of them could play their instrument. But I could help them make beautiful music together. And they face the audience. They get the applause, not you. You're working for them. They're working for the audience. You're working for them. So the way that we had superior customer service is we made it a joy for every associate to come to work every day. They knew that they were loved. We expected the best out of them. When they didn't give us the best, with respect, we told them so. But always treating every associate as a partner with respect and dignity. And the reason Rainbow Rentals was great was not its top of the heap management. It was the manager that greeted the customer with joy every time they came in the door, and their fellow associates. And we paid every single associate salaried.
Really?
Every associate at Rainbow Rentals was on salary. Sick or not sick, you got paid the same, always.
Wow. And
the way that we did that was through a technicality. Even in the home office, they were all salary. The way that we did that is that there was at least till we sold in 2004, a technicality that if you deliver furniture intrastate, you could be paid salary. Every secretary, we had 67 people in our home office. Every one of them made one delivery every year. And we made them do it. It wasn't just, saying it. No, they had to do it. And we got challenged with wage and hours. And the lady that was coming after us said, we have never heard so many happy associates as when we were asking them, don't you think you would make more on an hour with hourly with overtime? And they said, oh, don't you mess with this. They loved their company. And the reason that we did that was not to save money. We did not want to buy our associates' loyalty 1 hour at a time. You understand? If you're an associate of Rainbow Rentals, you are an intricate part of who we are. You are important as anyone else. So we're going to treat you with the same respect and dignity. We self-insured. The most you could pay for, if you got 6 kids, the most you could pay for your health care is $3,000 a year, maximum, including doctor visits, prescriptions, everything.
Wow.
We hired an insurance company. I think it was Aetna. The last one was Aetna. And we picked a policy, but they weren't insuring it. We had catastrophic insurance. If you went over $50,000 as an individual in 1 year, then the insurance would kick in. But until a individual was greater than 50,000, we had no insurance. And next year it starts over again. So we were self-insured. We took every single associate, that manager and their spouse, male and female, manager, and the department heads on a cruise every year. About 300 people we took on a cruise every year. And that's where we remembered our culture, who we are, and why everybody's important, and what is our mission here. Okay. It was the greatest experience of my lifetime.
I love the sound of this. I love the sound of the culture. I love the sound of work. You can tell the passion when you're talking about it. I can see it coming out of you.
Uh-huh.
So going back to the beginning then and starting over, because these are all amazing high points. What were some of the hardest things that you came across during those times? When you're this is rocking and rolling, right? You've got England Furniture coming out. You're looking at the TVs and telling them, listen, I need something quality. You're getting the larger TVs. There had to be some trials and tribulations along the way.
Oh, there absolutely were. From the very beginning, we wanted to borrow $1.5 million to get started. Before I had a loan agreement, I already had $30,000 worth of payroll before I even had a loan agreement. So we go to Chrysler First Corporate Credit, and we want to borrow $1.5 million. Now, this is, at the time, 1985. So this is the deal we got for our money. So they're going to charge me 18% interest rate on my money. I got to pay the attorney fees and so forth, which was $30,000. I got to give them $300,000 of my money to put in a CD. They're going to pay me 5% to loan it back to me at 18%. And I had to give 15% warrants. So now we had the call at 2 years and the put at 3 years. I calculated beforehand that by the time we got to where the call was, that those warrants were going to be worth an additional $250,000 that they were going to make. I ended up calling it, the put was going to be $250,000. I called it after 2 years and paid them an additional $400,000 after 2 years. So calculate the interest rate on that. I was paying 18% on $1.5 million. They actually only loaned me 1.2, but I'm paying 18% on 1.5. I paid $30,000 for their attorney fees and so forth, and then gave them $400,000 more after 2 years. Calculate that interest rate.
That is...
You know what would have been more expensive money? No money at all. So the Lord blessed us, and we could say, this is too crazy. No, we knew that we were supposed to do this, and that's what we did. We had our loans called twice. We've never missed targets or anything for any bank or lending institution. Our last bank was Bank of America. Actually, we ended up, the last one was a consortium with Ohio Bank, Comera Bank, and National City Bank, $40 million facility that we had with those three banks at the time. So when they called these notes, it was because, one guy, I'm trying to remember his name, he was an accountant. He had 220 stores with Bank of America and another one of the financiers, and he went bust. So the next thing you know, our banks are calling our note. That's normally the kiss of death of any corporation. You don't have that kind of money just laying around. And the second time it was called, I think it was when Henry B. Gonzalez decided to hold Senate hearing meetings about the legality of rent to own. So now the banks want it out. They said, we love you. You've always done what you're supposed to do. They want it out. So we went out there trying to find everybody we could find. And we could not get the money. We weren't going to get the money. So we went to the bank with our tails tucked between our legs and told them, we'll shut down all growth. We'll give you all profits and we'll have you paid back in 1 year. They agreed to that. As soon as they agreed to that, we had 3 banks call us back with incredible interest rates and so forth. And Bank of America took our loan for about 5%.
Wow.
At that time. Now, the reason we couldn't find anything is God is a jealous God. He wanted to make sure we knew that we were blessed in that situation. The next situation I had, my partner, who I dearly love to this day, like a brother, decided to leave the company after 11 years into the project. He was the bank guy. He was the guy that kept there. I was the operations guy. Products and people and all of that. So he leaves the company and we have to buy him out, which was $11 million at the time.
Oh,
okay. We got to buy him out.
Ouch.
We had about $12 million with Bank of America. And we probably were doing at the time, maybe $70 million a year. So now I'm going to have to borrow, it would have been about $23 million on $70 million of revenue, $70 million of revenue. No bank would do that. So I flew to Chicago to meet with the and they met me a couple of times, but really I had to reintroduce myself to them and say, okay, now Jason's gone, and now you got to loan me $24 million. Mike said, there is no way in the world. They said, okay. Michael looked at me. I looked at him. Now, the reason they did that is I'm such an impressive guy and such a good speaker. No. You know what? We were a company founded on Judeo-Christian values. We treated everybody with respect and dignity and with good intent. And the Lord made that happen. 1 year later, we took the company public for the highest multiple a rent company ever had. And there's another story there. You're talking about trouble. We went out on the road show to take the company public. We had the 3 top underwriters on our book: Robinson Humphrey out of Atlanta, Dane Russell Wessels, and SunTrust Equitable out of Nashville. They were on our book. I presented 65 times in 12 days. One day I woke up in New York, I presented in Philadelphia, I presented in Salt Lake City, I presented in Seattle, and slept in San Diego. One day.
Wow.
So it's the last day we're presenting to a portfolio manager in New York. And he says, by the way, Cooper Mills from Robinson Humphrey has called a special conference call. We've reserved our boardroom upstairs for you. So right after your presentation, you can go up there. So I presented to him, went to the top floor. And now this guy from Youngstown, Ohio, is looking at a table with 40 chairs around it. The whole floor is glass and a panoramic view of the entire New York. And here's this little short guy from Canfield, Ohio, okay, with Mike Pecchia, my chief financial officer, and a representative from Robinson Humphrey. So he gets on the phone and he tells me, well, Wayland, this is June of 98. He said, right now, the .coms are all the rave. Nobody's investing in anything but .coms. There was 15 companies trying to get out public. 5 have already delisted. 5 have downpriced. We're not sure that we can get you out in the price range of $10 to $12. And we're really doubtful that we're going to be able to get you out if you insist on telling our investors that you're going to give 10% of their earnings away to good works every year. I said, okay. Well, first of all, let me make sure everybody's on the phone. Dane Russell Wessels, who's on the phone? They told me who was on the phone. It was the principals were on the phone. SunTrust Equitable. I asked Larry Hendricks, my chief operating officer, you on the phone? Yes, Will, I'm on the phone. Mike, my president, you on the phone? Yeah, okay. I want you all to understand this. The price is 10 to 12. If you can't get that, don't tell me. Just send me a letter. That'll be fine. Mike, how much do I have invested in taking the company public so far? Mike said about $780,000. This is in 98, okay? I said, right now, Rent-A-Center, average store is doing $60,000 per year. Aaron's is doing $660,000 per year. Rainbow Reynolds store, our 63 stores are doing $1.3 million per year. And the reason they do that is because of our moral fiber. It is who we are. So if investors don't like that, we don't need their money. And this phone call is over. And I hung up on him. We came out with the highest participation of family and friends they'd ever seen. And we doubled shortly after we came out. We came out at $10 and we doubled. And then when we sold, we doubled again.
Wow.
And the reason that we sold in 2004 is I had a real conundrum. I'm a publicly traded company. Rent-A-Center is going to payday loan, which they had every right to do. Aaron's is going to payday loan. Rentway was going to payday loan. They were making 900% on their money. And we're saying we're a company founded on Judeo-Christian values. So I can't tell the investors anything that I have is going to make 900%. I don't have anything that's going to make 900%. We out-profited all of them, store by store. But I don't have a product that makes 900%. I don't want a product that makes 900%. So I had no choice. It was time to sell. And when we sold, every associate, even part-timers, were rewarded handsomely, stock options and so forth. And we built a new high school for Youngstown Christian School with the proceeds.
Wow.
Because we weren't there to become personally wealthy. We hoped that would happen, because the much is given, much is required. And, we love being charitable and philanthropic and all of that. But it wasn't about, let's see how much stuff we could acquire. We wanted to build something special.
Wow. So when we're talking about Henry Gonzalez out of Texas. And if anybody doesn't know, that was a period of time where we were on the table and somebody wanted to eat our lunch or eat us for lunch.
Oh, no question.
In that situation, were you a part of APRO? How did that come about?
Yeah, APRO was originally founded by Chuck Sims and a few others. So I was the store manager. Every one of us from the first day I entered this industry, I was a member of APRO. So I've been a member for 48 years.
Wow. Okay. So back then, how important was it to be part of an advocacy group like APRO that can really take these challenges on head first and kind of help out with people such as yourself to stop and really educate the lawmakers on what we really do versus what they really think we do?
Well, just getting in now, understand, let's see, I became plant manager of American Exochemical at the ripe old age of 23. So I was 26 when I entered the rent-to-own industry. So we went to conventions and so forth with APRO back then, and we didn't really realize how important APRO would be. We just thought it was a trade association like all companies do. Right. We didn't realize, obviously I realized later on that if it wasn't for APRO and every human being with APRO, Ed Wynn saved this industry. Wayne Chambers saved the industry. The IRS was going to control us out of business with the way they expected us to depreciate our goods and so forth. We wouldn't have been able to make a dollar. They could have ruined us that way. The government had funded legal aid in every state to attack the rent-to-own industry, to destroy us. Okay. And Henry B. Gonzalez was holding Senate hearings on the legality of our transaction. So we had to fight for our existence. If it were not for APRO and the impassionate people there would be no rent-to-own industry today.
I agree with you 100%. Yeah. And I'm glad that you're a part of that. So did you, aside Henry B. Gonzalez, were you ever part of the groups that advocated for either state regulation or federal regulation to benefit us and to educate the lawmakers themselves?
We had people that went, but more than anything else, we felt a responsibility from our size to fund it. So you don't understand how many millions of dollars that went in to protecting our industry. Thank God Rent-A-Center was what it was then. And Charlie Laudermilk at Aaron's, he was very, very generous. More generous than Rainbow Reynolds. I think we carried our weight, but at that moment in time, we weren't as big as when we sold, but we certainly had poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into legislation and so forth, while Rent-A-Center and Aaron's was pouring millions of dollars into it. And this industry owes a debt of gratitude specifically to Ed Wynn and specifically to Wayne Chambers at that time, and certainly so many others. But those two men ran point for us on some very dangerous soil.
So how did Rainbow Reynolds and yourself get the narrative through from people just like that? We're not just talking about the legal side, but there was always that connotation that, rent to own, we're taking advantage of customers. How did you break through that in different situations to let people know that this is what our business, our industry, our people are really doing?
What I try to explain to them is that any bank that's going to loan you money is going to measure your beta, or the risk involved, right, your ability to pay back, okay? So in our industry, there is no debt, but we need to get our merchandise back, okay? So when we send something to a customer, we price that at the very best price that we can. We service it, we stand behind it, and we will take it back when you've used half of it or most of it, or whatever the case may be. So there's inherent risks in renting the merchandise that we're taking, that when you buy a piece of merchandise, you're taking risk. So we charge extra for those services that we offer. But when you take into account what's in your wallet, if you make the minimum payment every single month, they're going to increase you to 32% interest, and you will get nothing for that. So if you think we're expensive, look to American Express and Diners and MasterCard and Visa. And if you want to talk about usury, that's usury. That's taking people that maybe had a problem. My own sister, her husband died in a tragic tractor accident.
Sorry.
And expenses were coming in, so she ran up her credit cards and made a payment every single month. She was making a minimum payment every single month. And she was paying 32% every year on that debt. I said, give me those bills. Paid those off. She's never had a balance on a credit card since. And there's a lesson in that for us. There are 40 million people out there today with greater than $7,000 on their credit cards right now. And they're getting nothing for their money. Those 40 million people should be our customers. We have to find a way to get to them and tell them it's acceptable and even wise to use the rent-to-own transaction rather than put it on your credit card. The best thing you could do is get a home mortgage. That's the smartest thing. Even better than that, pay cash. But if you're not in that position, don't put it on a credit card. Come to Eagle Rental Purchase.
There you go. There you go. What would you say is some advice with all the information, all the history that you have gathered? What is something that you would want to pass on to somebody in the future? Somebody that's coming through now, somebody that says, I want to open a store, I want to be in this industry. What would be some of your advice to them?
I don't know where I heard this, but it was from someone very wise said to me, you can get all you want in this life, by just helping them enough of other people get what they want in the life. So treat everybody with respect. And understand you can do more together than you will ever do by yourself. I'll give you this one last story. The second time we had our loan call, I went on the bike trail as I normally do, and I ran 8 miles before anybody was at work. And we had called for an executive meeting for everybody to talk over what we would do, how we would go about it. So while I'm running this 8 miles, I have an epiphany. I've got the answer. I can't wait to get to our meeting with the executive group. So I go in my conference room, I put on the chairman hat, and I started listening to the ideas to my left. By the time we got to the left corner of the table, I'm not sure I had the best idea. By the time we got to the right corner, I'm not going to tell anybody what my idea was. And I will tell you, in all of the years, I don't remember ever picking my idea one time. Not once. I didn't have to. All my only job was to pick the best looking pig on the truck and go with it. But you know what? If it was your idea, we applaud that, and it's no longer your idea. It's our idea.
It's ours.
And we would go from there. So surround yourself with the best and help them be great. Don't worry about your own greatness. Help them be great.
Words of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, as we come to a close, not a selfish question, but I do want to know, how do you want to be remembered? If somebody says you had a choice, and usually we don't. Usually it's the actions that we've done throughout our entire lives that have put us into where we are now. And then the people who look at us, that know us, that have been with us, our family, our friends, our loved ones, they get to say, this is how I remember you. But if you had the ability to look back at your life, which you do, and say, this is what I think I would be remembered for. This is what I think I would like to know that people would probably say this about me. What would that be?
I think I'd like to be remembered as a less than bigger than life CEO that knew that his job was to make others great, not to be great. So if on my tombstone, if they put, here lies a guy that made a lot of money, then I had wasted my life. You have just indicted me on my own tombstone. Here's a simple man that trusted God and did his best to bless others. That's the way I'd like to be remembered.
I think you will. Well, everybody, I can't imagine somebody else who has gone through the things that you have gone and really able to accomplish things that you have in the way that you have. I mean, Rainbow Rentals, I remember when I first came on, I actually started at Renter's Choice under Ernie Talley. So when you say the name Ernie Talley, it takes me back to those days, right at the early 2000s. I actually started in January of 2000. And it just brings back so many memories because that was a good company and it was some good leadership. And we're really glad you guys had time to sit in with us. Listen, if you want to connect, by all means, reach out to us, Pete at the RTOshowpodcast.com. Don't forget to the website is www.thertoshowpodcast.com. Go on there, see events, buy some swag, let us know that you're listening, and make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and now YouTube, where you're going to see this. And I will tell you guys, as always, Wayland Russell, it has been amazing to have you on the show. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to have been here. And I hope that some wisdom comes through.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I guarantee it. I'll tell you guys, as always, get your collections low to get your sales high. Have a great one.